Welcome to another edition of Just Unsecure Cybersecurity, where we explore topics in information and cybersecurity, focusing on Africa and, yes, the world. As usual, I'm Babz, and the co-host.
Oh.
Today, we're going to be talking about securing what matters, application, infrastructure, and beyond. But before we go ahead, remember, you need to subscribe. Okay, so today's going to be a very amazing topic because we have someone who is a practitioner in the field. His name is Emmanuel Olaniyi, very similar to yours. Just as we welcome our special guest, his name is Emmanuel Olaniyi, a seasoned cybersecurity professional with over 6 years of hands-on experience in helping organizations secure their infrastructure, with a strong background in enterprise threat and vulnerability management, as well as penetration testing and web and mobile application security. He brings a wealth of knowledge to the table.
That is a wide range.
So instead of us talking about what he's doing, how he's doing it, why don't we just bring Emmanuel straight into the show? Please, Emmanuel.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to be with you today. I'm doing very well.
Welcome.
And you?
Yes.
Good.
There's this culture that we have that we try to talk about what we know about people, but there's no one that can say as much as what the person really has, except the individual themselves. So
Yeah, true.
Babz was making an attempt, as we always do, but right now the floor is yours. Please tell us about Emmanuel, where you've been, what you've been on to, and the rest will be history.
Hello once again. It's great to be with you all today. So yeah, like you know, my name is Emmanuel Olaniyi. I have a bachelor's degree in cybersecurity, and right from the university, I moved on to work in a security operations center as an incident handler, and worked on the blue team for a while, and then decided to move to red teaming, pen testing. And I did a lot of infrastructure pen test, mobile application, web application, and later on, I sort of moved on to go deeper into, because I was more focused in the finance sector. So I decided to sort of expand my range, and then I joined a consultancy company, and that gave me that range of a lot of clients, not just the banking sector and the finance sector. So I worked for a lot of clients in Nigeria, in West Africa, and like 3 years ago, I did a very significant pivot from the enterprise sector to the automotive sector. So pretty much everything that I have been doing in the banking sector and and the enterprise side, now I do for vehicles, for trucks, for cars, for electronic components in the vehicle, try to secure the products to ensure that it's not hackable. I'm sure you might be aware, or you might be familiar with the Jeep hack where, the guy just hit the brakes while the car was in motion.
Yep.
Yeah, so things like that. I try to do that to ensure, that doesn't happen to our vehicles when it's already out in production. So that's my focus now. And I feel it's still one domain that there is a whole lot that I am yet to learn about. But yeah, this is just a brief summary of where I'm from, where I am right now, and where I think I'm heading to.
That's fascinating, because you move from IT to complete OT.
Yeah. I still try to keep in touch with IT because it's on the one side, they are similar, but on another side, they are two different worlds. So I still try to keep in touch, just so I'm still familiar with things in the IT side, and because the moment you stop doing these things, you tend to lose touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I should try to keep in touch and do one or two things on the IT side, just so that I'm still familiar with it. But yeah, this is full OT now, hardware pen testing, and
Wow.
It's
That's
exciting.
that is exciting and that is unique. Please,
Yes,
Babs.
yes.
I
That
know Babs is itching
I
to ask the question.
Well, for me, like I will always say, when we see people that are interested, and from you even talking, I tell you're passionate about cybersecurity and
Yeah.
securing the network. But I would want to step back for the viewers, like from a viewer perspective, what inspired you to pursue a career in cybersecurity, especially from an African context, because
Mhm.
this is not something that is popular in
Yeah,
Africa from a career perspective. You understand what I mean?
true.
So, what
True.
made
Yes,
you pursue this career?
Um, I like to tell people that God wanted me to do cybersecurity, and this is why. I had a national diploma in computer science, and I applied to the university, that's Federal University of Technology, Mina, to study computer science. I
Hmm,
saw cybersecurity actually, right? But I felt I wasn't good enough to study cybersecurity as a bachelor's, as my first degree.
hmm,
That was what I felt. I felt this was something big, and you should, or you can only do as your master's degree. So
hmm,
that was what I felt. I wanted to do it because, yeah, I've seen a lot of movies, I've seen how the hacking and everything, and it was very intriguing, trying to break into things not for ulterior motive, but just to identify the way a malicious actor would do it, and then protect the organization. So it has always been fascinating to me, and I think growing up, I loved breaking things. I and my brother, I know we pretty much lose every radio set that my mom ever owned. We'll
Oh
lose it,
my.
break it apart, and then put it back together.
Oh
So it
my.
was
That is
fascinating to try to do this to systems. And I had applied JAM computer science, and on when it was my post UME, on the day of the post UME, where we had to check in all of our credentials, and someone looked at my WAEC result and what I had applied for, and then asked me, "Don't you want to study cybersecurity?" And I'm like, "Yes, I want to. Will you give me admission?" And the person was like, "Yes, sure, we will." I was like, "Okay, change it to cybersecurity." And there at the post UME, they changed it from computer science to cybersecurity, and I got admission. And it's been, I would like to say the rest is history, right? But I think it has also taken a lot of intentional effort
hmm,
to be where I am right now. A lot of grace and favor from God, and a lot of intentional effort. But yeah, it's that's pretty much how I have ended up on this path, and how I have sort of maintained, or stayed in this part of cybersecurity.
that is
Wow.
Yeah,
That's for me.
it's
That was great. As in, anyone listening to this, just that story alone is passionate,
yeah,
intriguing, and again, you're putting God first. So I think
yes.
that says a lot. I don't know. Oh, you wanna
no,
go ahead?
that's really inspiring, and I want to appreciate someone who identify that talent early. Some people will just go into university without meeting a counselor, and a counselor
Hmm.
directing you. So I would really encourage the people who want to choose career right now to probably just go ahead and sit down with a counselor. It could be from the university or somewhere else, and they could point you in the right direction, just like Emmanuel has mentioned. God order our steps, but God probably will not come down directly. He will use.
Definitely, you will use somebody. True, true. That is true.
So
Sure.
please,
Yeah.
if you are actually thinking, or you are in that divide, like where should I go? Go ahead and see a counselor. Maybe at the end you'll talk to Emmanuel as well. Maybe you what
Okay.
because it mentions something that is really critical. You said that there's some. It's not like the rest is history. No, they are
Hmm.
intentional,
Yeah,
and there are efforts, there are sacrifices that you have to make to move in between the career, and that pivot into my next question about this particular topic we're talking about. What is the overlooked layer in the application security, especially in the infrastructure OT. When we talk about OT, is operational technology. So,
Mm-hmm.
so for people who don't operational technology, IT is normal IT, what banks and all of that. But when you start moving to industrial systems, we call it OT. So, what is the overlooked area in that product region for security?
I would still say first this is a really good question because a lot of people, when you say OT, they focus more on hardware, and they tend to forget that there's an application layer
Hmm.
sitting on top of all of this. And from my experience with application security, application is actually one overlooked area. So yeah, there is the human factor, which is a normal one, but application security is one overlooked area because you will not really interface with all of these hardwares directly. You
Hmm.
need something on top of it. And if that is not properly secured, you will have, or you can potentially have, unbridled access to something that you shouldn't. I sort of taught myself how to code. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I was coding with I taught myself mobile application development, web application development. I was using Xamarin on the Mac then. So there was a whole bunch of YouTube videos that I had at my disposal, and every time I was on break, I just watch it relentlessly, and then I take on uh project for people pro bono. Like, yeah, I
Hmm.
can do this for you for free. Don't spend money on it. Yeah, the person
Okay.
gets a good project. I get some experience. I get some
Experience.
learning.
Mhm.
But it's a win-win for everybody. But in doing that, it gave me deeper understanding of how application works. And then when I eventually started doing application pen test, it gave me like a very good understanding of how to break an application
Hmm.
because I already have that knowledge of how to build the
Develop
application.
an application.
And it gave me that insight like application layer is one area that is usually overlooked. Again, yeah, we have technical controls that are put in place, but when an application is not properly secured, you have those insecure codes and all of that. All of your technical controls, might be overlooked, or one wrong written code can just bypass every technical controls that you have put in place. Of
Yeah.
course, one thing not to forget, yes, is the human factor because yeah, you can have the perfectly coded applications, you can have every other thing done, but then one successful social engineering, phishing attack, and everything is down the drain. I think if you remember I think it was Uber. There was a breach on Uber, and it happened because there was a leaked credential, and
Yeah.
then an attacker used that credential, and yes, there was MFA. So there was all of these technical controls in place. There was MFA, and this attacker just kept bombing this person with MFA request, and then called the person that, yeah, we are from IT. If you want all of this to stop, just accept these, and we'll work on it back end. And the person accepted that MFA request, and that was it. So yeah, we could have all of these technical controls, perfectly coded applications, and then the human factor just messes everything up.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
wouldn't say one, but I think these are two parts that are mostly overlooked.
Thank you.
I think you, even without knowing it, you kind of touched on my follow-up question, because
Aha.
applications applications often at the weakest link. Let's call a spade
Mm-hmm.
a spade.
Yes,
But
please.
yet again, applications are what everybody sees.
Correct.
So
Yes.
why is it that the fact that we all know the application is the most visible, but yet
Mm-hmm.
they are the weakest link?
Good.
What are we getting wrong in securing that?
Good question. So this is I think to answer this question is to have an understanding of how the application works. And this is how I like to explain this because yeah, it works based on APIs. And your API is just like you go to a first class restaurant, you get it, the restaurant itself is the application. You go to the restaurant as a user, you don't see the chef, you don't see every other person making the food and all of that. You see a waiter. The waiter is your API. You tell the waiter what you want, and the waiter goes to the chef and gets it and bring it to you.
Mm.
Now, users see the application, but they are actually on the front end, they see the graphical user interface and it's all good and all of that, but they are interacting with an API. And an attacker or a malicious actor who knows how to ignore the front end and just go straight to the back end, or send
To
the
the
message
chef.
directly.
Yeah.
That's why that's what sort of makes it the weakest link. So most developers or most applications that I have tested, they have some form of a very good security on the front end, on the part that the users see. But then I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't want to use all of your graphical user interface. And then I just push all of that aside and sees, okay, so when I click on login, this is actually what happens back end. All right, I'm not going to click on your login. Or for instance, you have set a limit that says your username should not include numbers.
Mm.
And you set that on the GUI. And then I said, okay, fine, I'm not going to type on your GUI. I'm just going to send this message directly to the API. And then I include numbers. And because your back end has not been,
Sanitized.
built to handle that, it doesn't know what's happening. It could just misbehave. So yeah, applications are usually the weakest link because the connecting infrastructure, the APIs are not properly secured. So it's not just it's not the application being the weakest link now, it's the APIs, the every other middleware that now makes the application, insecure. And
Mm.
I think, yeah, despite being the visible part, which is the GUI, the part that is not really visible, at least not to a layman, the APIs, that's what sort of makes it very insecure. And then when you look at, um, for instance, now the speed to market, I remember during the COVID period, I was working for a bank during that period, and this was a sudden change in dynamics, a sudden change in business. People no longer have the opportunity to visit the bank
Yes.
physically. We needed to develop applications that allow them to bank from home. And that speed to market, okay, we want to be the first to do this. If not, we lose customers. It led to a lot of, insecure coding and, a lot of other things. But for our team, we were head on and we were strong about it. The information security team then were like, look, these are the things we have found. This will not pass. We will not agree to this. You must fix this. So for a lot of organizations, cybersecurity, vulnerability assessment, pen test, it's usually an afterthought.
Yeah.
Most times they do this, maybe we are going to doing a certification and we need to do this not because we want to keep this application secure. So there is this absence of secure coding culture, which sorts of make application weak, because at the end of the day you develop applications that are poorly coded, and then this goes into the market, this gets exploited. In the context of OT, you then look at the complexity of uh, software supply, like the supply chain.
Yeah. Mm.
It's as much as, yeah, all of these applications or all of these devices are sort of hardware and all of that, they are still dependent on some libraries and all of that. And then, I think it was, um, if I remember correctly, we can look at the log4j incident.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there was this
Mhm.
other incident. I've forgotten which library that was, but this guy was able to sneak in a backdoor. But thankfully, someone was doing there was this kind of test this guy was doing, and then he realized that, okay, this CPU, or this is the CPU usage. I don't recollect so much now. It peaked like just a bit higher than normal, and it
Mm.
made him investigate more, and he realized that one of the contributors was actually a malicious actor, and he had built trust over the years and then introduced the backdoor into the software. I'll try to find that. It's a very good read. If
Oh,
that person had not done that check, it would have compromised a whole lot of systems. So yeah, there's the supply there's a supply chain thing, and then there's this developer security gap. Development team and security team, at least from my experience, these are two teams that don't really like each other because there's it's not very easy to balance usability and security.
yes, I
They've
agree.
designed something that is very fancy and very useful, but it has a lot of security flaws. And then when you start telling them, okay, we need to fix this, we need to do this, it's like you are stressing me. I'm
Yeah,
just a developer.
and you're
I'm not a
breaking my timeline.
Yeah,
exact. So
exactly.
it's there's this gap, and we need to figure out a way to sort of bridge this gap and make them code in a more secured manner and all of that. So I think all of these things are what sort of come together and make the application like appear weak or make it inevitably the weakest link.
Thank you for that. Based on the last few statements you made about
Mm.
the struggle between security and development, and that leads me to ask: so how can security better, you know, broker this relationship, especially
Relationship.
in a CI/CD kind of construct?
One thing that worked, I'll take an example from where one of the places I previously worked. We had what we call a security champion. So this could be a representative, or basically it was a representative from the necessary departments, and one, for instance, the development team. So we have a security champion from the development team that sort of we have constant workshop with them to make them understand that look, we're not just trying to make your job difficult. We're trying to actually make it easy because the less checks you need to make, the more easy it will be for you. You won't have to revisit this over and over again. And that one helped because whenever we had to speak to the developers now, they are coming from a place of understanding that, okay, these guys are not our enemy. These guys are we're actually working together to make this thing better. Then when we now look at like for the CI/CD in context of CI/CD now, I think one of the things that I know have worked is also integration of different tool sets. So one of the things we did then was a code review. So even after these guys have done all of their coding, it still comes to the information security office then to sort of do like a code review where we go through. We usually do like a manual code review and then we do automated code review. But not really. It didn't really make much sense because it was taking a lot of time. You have to do this yourself. Come in CI/CD where you can just connect these tools and like check marks, for instance, when you have your developers, when they complete their coding, it pushes it through and it does this automated code review, and it's been built to do a check for all of these insecure codes based on, for instance, OWASP top 10, and then it checks these things and sort of even, I think it has even advanced to the stage where as the developers are coding, it tells them that this line is not secure, the way you have referenced this variable is not secure, the way you have called this is not secured, and then sort of guide them on how to better write their codes and all of that. And I was recently in a workshop where a developer was like, I have a security guy come to me and tell me, this code you have written is not secure. Okay, why is it not secure? Oh, I'm sorry, I cannot tell you that, but it's not secure. Do something. So now with this, the development team are coming from a place of understanding as to why you have said or why you are saying this is not secured, and they know what can go wrong. So it's not like you're just shoving things down their throats. Now they know exactly what can go wrong. And with automating everything with CI/CD, there's nobody to yell at. It's automated. The
It's
system
right
will
there.
not push your code if you don't fix those things.
Yeah.
So it's sort of I think it makes it a lot seamless for the development team,
Mhm.
and over time, they will not repeat such insecure codes with these workshops, the security champion, and all of that.
Okay,
Okay.
that's a great analogy in terms of breaking it down and having security champions to trickle down the security requirements to more technical people, and having security champions within, let's say, the
Yeah.
product unit or things like that, so that they can keep an eye, security first approach. But we all know from a business perspective that
Mm,
sometimes business comes first.
Mm.
And without
yes.
business, you really don't have security budget.
Mm,
Do you understand
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, I
So
totally
how
understand. I totally do.
how do you handle that perspective? Because yeah, you can have a security champion that says, "Oh, you need to fix this," and the guy says to fix this will cost $1 million. Management will look at you and say, "Ah, they've been using this product for the past 10 years. You are now
And
coming to
nothing
tell
has
them to
happened.
fix it for $1 million." So how do you bridge that gap between business first approach to technical security?
Really good question, which is something I had to learn firsthand. I was this technical person. I will say perhaps a bit too technical, and I will just come to, or when I do my test, I do my VAPT, I come up with a report that is all technical jargons, and this is what is happening. You need to fix this, and they're like, "What are you saying?" So what I had to learn was, yes, this business first approach. And what this means for me was understanding what the business is, and then tying your technical findings or your technical security issues to the business.
Mm.
So now, for instance, I could tell you we need to fix this. It will cost 100,000, or we have this particular issue. Fixing it will cost $100,000, right? That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is we have this issue. If it gets compromised, or if a malicious actor exploits this vulnerability, it will result in downtime in the organization, which will then result in the loss of $50 million.
Yeah.
What is the percentage, or was the likelihood of exploit? So we then rate a lot of things. This is what we have found. How easy is it to exploit this?
Mm.
It's very easy. What's the likelihood of a malicious attacker exploiting this thing? So there are a lot of metrics that we then put in place to come up with a rating, and then tell them, okay, this is actually very critical because one, it's very easy to exploit. All this person needs to do is ABC, and without technical tools, you can even have access to this. That's like an example. And how easy, like, yeah, I've talked about how easy it is. Then the likelihood, okay, yeah, the person doesn't need to have the technical skill set. The person can use open source tool to do this, and so we use all of these things and then come up to the business and say, okay, this is what can go wrong, and this is how easy it is to go wrong. Okay, how much can we lose, because we also tie it to the loss. So by the time they understand that, okay, this is what can go wrong, so, and it's not just about money now. You also have regulatory, there are also regulations, and you could have sanctions from all of these
Yes.
regulatory bodies. You have, you loss of trust. Your customer will begin to lose trust in you and all of that. By the time we then tie all of this to the business itself and how it can affect the business, this gets decision makers, gets them to act fast, because now this way we are not just talking about technicalities, we are now talking about how this can impact the business. It can result to a downtime, and for every day that the business is not functioning, this is how much we are losing. Customers will begin to lose trust, they will go to another organization, and once someone even breach this, then regulatory bodies are coming after you, and you are losing more money and all of that. So this is one way that I know in the past, and even currently, I've been able to put like that business first approach in getting uh, risk passed across to the decision makers.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Perfect. I think you couldn't have pointed it out much. It's like the business. the business part is always the most
Yeah,
not looked
you have
at
to
once you're
convince
very
them.
technical. Exactly. Once you're very technical, you tend not to think of the business side until you
Yeah,
realize why are they not saying it. And once they don't say it, because you've not put the business side first to let them understand there's money to lose and this is how you're going to
yeah.
lose, and bundle all that perfectly and let them make that decision from the board. Once you
Mhm.
share from a business perspective, the technical part is easy to
Yeah.
scale. So,
Mhm.
oh,
My question, follow-up question to that, which is really good. I'll go to some personal in between and
Mhm.
also into technical one. One is you explain the way you you talk to business about those in your workflow. Let's say
Yeah.
someone is a want to want to do penetration testing at the moment. How do you approach penetration testing? What's the best approach, especially in OT? And also try to help us to understand how when someone go on a different layer or on a wrong level or make a wrong leg can cause problem if
Hmm.
you miss.
Now, a very, very good question, I must say. So far, I have learned one thing, and that is to identify the product owner. In the OT side, there is, at least in my organization, there's a role called the product owner. There is nothing you want to know about that product that this person doesn't know, and you cannot test what you don't know. So get as much documentation as possible about that product. Now, this could be data flow diagrams, architecture diagrams, how all of the different systems are interconnected. The idea here is to try to identify all of the different attack surfaces. Because when you miss that, right, and you are working with perhaps just what you can see, you will miss a lot of attack surfaces. For instance, you might look at this device and say, okay, yes, I see a USB port. I see wireless, I see Bluetooth, and you want to build your pen test, your test cases
Around that,
on
yeah.
that. And you might just miss that there is one mobile app that is interfacing with all of these things, and you will not scope that in your pen test. So the first step is to identify whoever knows a lot about that product. Now, in the past, this has usually, or in my past experience, this is usually the developers themselves. So you will need to try to reach out to them one by one, which can be very hectic. However, in the OT industry or in my current organization where I work, we have a designated role, a product owner. So you just go to this person. If there is anything you need to know about this product, this person will tell you.
Fantastic.
And that way you identify, because for a penetration test, you really want to know all of your attack surfaces. You really want to know the different ways this application, this product, this device can be communicated with, because that is how they can eventually be compromised. When you identify all of your attack surfaces, then you start ruling out the possibilities. Okay, yeah, it's not possible for you to do this. To do this, you need physical access to the device. There are 10 security guards before you get to the device. So then that reduces the likelihood of physical access. Okay, this device has a wireless capability that transmits maybe 1 kilometer within that radius. So
Range.
someone doesn't really need to sit close to it, just sitting within 1 kilometer. So this gives you an idea of, okay, what can my test case be? And not doing this, you will eventually miss some attack surface. I can remember in a past experience, not that it caused like missing. It was more of looking at the right layer than and not looking at the right layer. So we had a very hardened, very secured server and all of that. In infrastructure wise, the server was secured. You needed access to, like, what's the word for it now? It's
The
like a two-factor access basically.
two-factor
So
access, more
one
like
person will approve, then another person will approve
multiple
again.
high principle.
Yeah,
multiple.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. But the application that was interfacing with the back end was porous. There was no server-side validation.
Mm.
So the application had very good, it was really good, everything was okay, but there was no server-side validation. And what that meant was anything the front end says, server will take it like that.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I'll just give an example. You log into your bank app, for instance. You have maybe 10 naira in your account, and then you somehow change it on the front end that no, I don't have 10 naira, I have 1 million. But the server side did not validate whether you
Mm.
truly have 1 million. And you send that as a request, and the server just say, yeah, you have 1 million. And then
Okay.
you make a transfer of 100,000 from your 1 million that does not exist, and it was successful. So that was in one instance where well, not just one instance, there's several instances where I've seen that lack of server-side validation, where
Mm.
every other thing was perfect, but just that little bit of testing if, and this was because you eventually interface with the APIs,
Yeah.
testing the server-side validation. Are you also checking that what I am saying is actually true? So now, in this scenario, authentication is good, authorization is good, because you are not. This is not the fake account. This is a correct account.
Legitimate.
You
Yeah.
didn't. You didn't legitimate account, but because authentication and authorization is okay, doesn't mean everything I said is you just take it like that. There was no server-side validation. So this was in one instance where I realized that, okay, yeah, looking at that, or just that small aspect was able to prevent like a full-blown breach where people would have just been able to move funds. So yes, understand the application, whatever it is you want to do a pen test on, understand it. This could mean if you don't have a product owner, meet with the developers. In the past, I have had issues with developers having data flow diagrams, architecture diagrams on record,
Mm.
because without that, you don't know the entire
Yeah.
environment. You are
Yeah.
seeing this application, but you don't know what this application interacts with.
Interact
It's
with.
connected to this server, it's connected to this database, it's connected to this API. You need to know all of these things. So that is where, if you want to start a pen test, before you even start looking at tools, before even thinking of what you want to do, what is this product? What am I doing this test on? What can I find out about it? Especially if it's a a white box rather, not white hat,
Yeah.
a white box test where you should have access to all of this information. Then that is where you should start. Get as much information about that product, hardware, software, application, mobile app, web app. Get as much information about it, the flow, the different kind of user types, because that's one very important thing.
Mm.
The different kind of user types. Okay, who are the people that can use this application? You have your normal users, you have maybe admin users. Some apps usually have different interface for the admin. Some apps have the same interface for both your normal user and your admin user. Then now you need to check authorization. Can normal user perform the functions of admin user? But you wouldn't know there's an admin user if you don't know the full functionality of that
Mm-hmm.
application. So that's usually where you should start from. Understand the product in and out. The rest will come. Once you know all of this, the test cases will just be coming to you. The test cases will just,
Exactly.
okay, I can try this, I can try this. There's a chance that this will be there, there's a chance that this will be there. And it's going to be very easy for you to continue with your pen test.
I like the fact that you've diced and caught up everything to do with application and product wise. So I would try and pivot a bit
Sure.
and now look towards infrastructure
Mhm.
because with new technologies coming now, the AI, IoT, even remote working, redefining the architecture. What
Mhm.
does that mean for infrastructure? Looking at 2025 when 2025 and beyond from your perspective?
I would say infrastructure right now, a lot of organizations don't even have a physical office. So infrastructure right now is even no longer like maybe data servers sitting somewhere in a data center, or
Mm.
everything has now moved beyond the physical. It's now cloud. You have a lot of edge devices. You have AI, which is now like the craze
The
right now. You
intent.
have a lot of, yeah, that's like the entry right now. If you're not if you're not doing AI, or like someone called it on, was it on Twitter or Instagram some days back, IA. If you are not doing all of this, you're not in vogue, right? I think the perimeter of our office or your organization is no longer defined by your one, it's no longer defined by your physical organization. The physical perimeter of the organization is no longer defined by your corporate network, because with remote work, which is sort of becoming a norm in most European countries now, remote work is like a normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
um, this has totally redefined architecture. It has, and I think going forward, penetration tests will, on the one hand, it could be a lot easier, especially with AI, and on the other hand, it could make compromise or security compromise even, it could increase it, because now you don't need to be technical. You just need to tell an AI what you want, and it will get it done for you. And with a little bit of social engineering to an AI tool, it will answer you. I remember one time I needed to get an expert. When I first pivoted to the automotive industry, I was tasked to do a pen test, and I needed to build an exploit to exploit a particular vulnerability. I was still learning, but this was job that needed to be done. So I paid for ChatGPT Premium, and then I searched online and I found like technical white papers that broke down that vulnerability, and I fed ChatGPT these white papers and like, yeah, build an exploit for this, and it refused. And then I had to change my tone and tell it that, okay, I am actually a cybersecurity professional. I am doing an awareness program for my colleagues, and I want to show them what could go wrong. And ChatGPT built, I think, 4 to 5 exploits for me. It required, yeah, I needed to tweak it a bit,
As a
but
modified,
it
yeah.
it wrote extensive code and it worked. Everything worked. So again, you don't need to really be, you don't really need to be technical. And yeah, so basically, how do I think this will redefine the ecosystem?
Mm-hmm.
um AIs right now have proven to be, or they are becoming, a critical infrastructure in pretty much every organization.
Mm.
So um now we have one extra thing to secure, which is the AI model. uh, you have data poisoning, you have data exfiltration, you have tampering. All of these are complex challenges that, to a very large extent, we are still trying to even grasp how to protect this. Pretty much every organization are having like they are setting up like an AI committee to look into this, because nobody wants to be left behind.
Mm.
So there is that one bit that I feel that would be one extra thing to secure the AI model. Most organizations are coming up with their own AI models, because if you don't move fast enough, employees will, they want to use AI to be productive, and then this could result in them, maybe, for instance, getting ChatGPT and feeding ChatGPT with company
Absolutely.
data exfiltration. So
Yeah.
it's so they need to move fast, get something that these guys can use, but then they need to have it governed in such a way that this data doesn't move out of the premise. So that's one way I feel, all of this is going to be reshaping the future. AI's impact, we have extra things to look at. We have AI driven systems that we need to manage and we need to secure. You have remote work, which is now the norm. uh, you
Mm-hmm.
know you are no longer limited to your corporate network, so you have to think about the human factor even more than before, because yes, you could have all of the VPN access and all of that, but then your employee goes to work from a cafe and connects to a malicious network, and every other thing is gone, because let's say whoever set up that hotspot or that network gains remote access to that person's system, because now it's like a man in the middle attack. Everything will go through that remote or that rogue access point.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
the human factor now becomes even more important with remote work in place. So yeah, you could have all of these infrastructure set, but then the human factor now becomes very, very important. With a lot of IoT devices, it's infrastructure is no longer just in the cloud. Basically, it's
Yeah.
now in your home.
Yeah.
I think
They are all
just
edge
2 days ago I
routers. They are
set up
all
a
edge,
RAS,
right?
well, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot now to secure than just what we used to know as infrastructure, where you can point to the database server, you can point to all of this. Now it's 2 days ago I bought a Raspberry Pi because I think I got tired of moving with my laptop all the time to do pen test on trucks and all of that. So
Exactly. It doesn't
I
scale.
just got a Pi that I could just pull out, connect, and I'm in the system and all of that. And it
Yeah.
just shows you that in the past, when they say an hacker or a hacker for it, you see someone with a laptop, but now you have your Raspberry Pi. You have your netbook that you could even plug into your mobile device
Mm-hmm.
and will do a lot more damage than you even having a laptop. So I think all of
Yeah.
these are going to be reshaping the future, and identity is now going to be the new perimeter.
Hmm.
Access being granted based on the verified identity of the user. So IAM, or not just IAM now, IAG in general, as identity access and
And the
governance
governance.
Governance.
in general is now the new perimeter, because you need to prove that you are who you say you are, and this is where you now talk about security in depth. So it's not just, yes, you have the authentication, you have the authorization, then, but you still need to have multiple layers of security to ensure that, yes, you have said you are, or we have on record, or you've proven that you are who you say you are, but you need to be able to limit the damage that this identity can cause if it's compromised.
Compromised.
So
Okay.
that is one I think in the future or going forward, infrastructure, or the infrastructure as a perimeter, yeah, identity, I think, will be one very important area that will also be focused on,
Absolutely.
at least as a new
Thank you.
perimeter. Yeah.
I agree with you. I'll ask you, based on the last thing you just mentioned, looking at the
Mhm.
future or right now, if you look back to your younger self, like,
Mhm.
yes, and you want to start this career again,
Yes.
how will you approach it differently with all the new technology that is out, the industry you are in right now? What will
Uh,
be your approach?
What would you have done differently?
Hmm.
uh, I would say maybe I would have. Well, I wouldn't say it's my fault, Sha. It was Jam that was just messing me up, but but I would have started long, long ago. I would have started cybersecurity many, many years before I started. Perhaps I wouldn't have even gone for computer science. I would have just maybe dived into cybersecurity straight. But again, I see that part as how it should have been. If I had skipped the computer science part, I wouldn't have had, good knowledge of how
Yeah.
application works, which would have interpreted in maybe me not being very good in web application pen test, mobile application pen test. So, if I am to advise myself 10 years ago, I would say, for someone who wants to go into cybersecurity, understand the different layers of cybersecurity, understand what you will eventually be doing as a pen testers. As a pen tester, these are the things you will be working with:
Mm-hmm.
mobile, web. Build foundations there, because I have seen pen testers who cannot look at a web application code and make sense of it. I've seen pen testers who cannot make read Java code for mobile app and understand what is happening and what is wrong with it. So it all goes back to the foundation. If you will be doing technical things, then have the foundational knowledge. Be good with the web application. Don't push it aside that you are not a developer. Yeah, have that foundational understanding of the web, the product basically. Let me call it that in general. So it could be web, it could be mobile, it could be even the APIs, so that when you eventually want to come from the attack point of view, you know exactly what you're attacking.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
doesn't look like gibberish to you, you know. So
Mhm.
the little things, networking, IP addressing, IP ranges, all of these they seem like something you wouldn't really use in cybersecurity, but these are things that can just, you want to run nmap scan now and you don't know whether it's /24 or /16 you want to type.
Exactly. Hmm.
These are things that can make you run to Google and go and check, and then you start asking myself, why did I spend 4 years in the university and I didn't know this? So
Uh,
10 years ago, I would tell
Great.
myself,
Yeah,
learn the basics,
Good.
learn the
fantastic.
Good.
basics
Good.
before the
Fantastic.
complex
I
things.
think you nailed it. That's like most of the people that come on the show, most of the people that we talk to almost say the same thing. Learn
Mm.
the basics, start early, focus on an area, build on it, and it. You might see the hard work. You'll see the hard work paying off in the long run. So as
Mm-hmm.
long as you start early, it's difficult in the beginning, no doubt
Yes,
about it. But like every other thing, practice makes perfect.
perfect.
Absolutely.
Continuous
And
learning.
one other thing I also like to add is um, a lot of people actually do cybersecurity because it's online. This guy is making money and all of that, right?
Of course,
And
it's in vogue
the
now.
truth is,
Uh-huh.
exactly, it's in vogue. But the truth is, if you need to be passionate about it.
Hmm.
Of
And why I
course.
say this is, it is very easy to be discouraged in cybersecurity
Very. A
because
lot
you
to learn.
will
A
see
lot to do.
every sign. There's a lot to learn. You will not stop learning, and you will feel it's not paying off.
Hmm.
If you are chasing the money, you will feel it's not paying off. But if you are really passionate about securing applications, about what you do, you wouldn't really think so much about the monetary payoff from it. You will look at the other things that you have learned, and it sort of keeps you going. I think cybersecurity is the one topic that you can wake me up any time of the day, and I will have something to tell you, because to a very large extent, it's
Absolutely.
one thing that I am very, very passionate about. So I always tell people to have that passion, right? When you have the passion, you will deliver, and people
Hmm.
will pay you for what you do.
And
Once they see what you deliver, they will pay you for it. The money will come.
absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely,
The money will
absolutely. I think this is a good way to even round up because, and I'm sure all our viewers are out there just asking, okay, how can someone get in touch with you if they wanted to get in touch with you?
The fastest way to get in touch with me is on LinkedIn. I used to be very active on Twitter, but not so much lately. But I'm very active on LinkedIn. So it's Emmanuel Olaniyi on LinkedIn. I think once you see my face here, you see my face there, and that's like the fastest way to reach me. And then we can hit up a discussion there. I think you could just send me a connect, drop a message. I will always respond.
LinkedIn.
The
Okay.
fastest way is
Fantastic.
LinkedIn. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. I think no matter whoever is listening or whoever is going to watch this session, first of all, will be inspired, will gain lots of knowledge and understand what and when and where to focus on when it's time to focus on cybersecurity, especially from an infrastructure and application perspective. Oh, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
No, there's nothing else to add. I'll definitely be checking this over and over again for the wealth of
All
knowledge
right.
that you passed. Thank you so much, Mano.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
having me.
Mana. That was a very well detailed aspect of this conversation. I think
Absolutely.
all our viewers will have something to chew and listen to from this part. Securing what matters, application, infrastructure, and even beyond that. I think if you're listening and you're not subscribing, there's a problem. So just remember to
Absolutely.
listen and subscribe. I think Emmanuel went through the details. I think he
Yeah.
covered everything from pen test, vulnerability, security in the application infrastructure. As in, I don't know what I missed.
Yeah, nothing. And that was really even the methodology in which to handle that case was really good. I appreciate the level in which he has gone to. I'll definitely be connecting with him myself, much more, to discuss further on some of the things that I've learned and would like to deep dive on. It was really good.
So if you're listening and watching, remember, subscribe and follow us, and we will sure to bring you more interesting individuals in the cybersecurity and information security world. Thank you.
Until
And for
next time.
myself,
And
next time.